happy to see you. My name is Jessica Kelly. I am here from Signs of Learning to teach you some sign language. My audience, as far as I know, is a bunch of parents, guessing of multiple, different ages of children. So if you don't mind in the comments, if you can just write maybe where you are and how old your child or children are. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to put those in the comments as well. I will do my best to keep getting back to that. This is all new for me online, so I apologize in advance for any mess ups. But if you want to let me know how old your children are, I can have a little bit of a better idea of who I'm working with here. And if you have any specific questions at all, please feel free to do that as well. I'm used to Zoom where I can see people. Right now I'm just looking at myself, and that's not my favorite thing. I'd rather look at babies' faces or y'all's faces. But I am ready for questions. I'm going to get started. Again, my name is Jessica Kelly. I'm the owner of and instructor for Signs of Learning. So I teach American Sign Language to babies and families in North Carolina and the Raleigh Triangle region. I have been signing for over 20 years, and let me make sure I got my thing on the right thing here. Sorry. So I've been signing for over 20 years. I have two daughters, an 11-year-old, just turned 11, not used to that yet, and a 7-year-old. And they were really great signers when they were babies. They've lost a lot of the signs, but they still sign some. It looks like I have one person who responded said who they have a 2-year-old boy. Okay, good. And if your child has any specific special needs, let me know that too, and I can try and make sure I address that as well. Okay. So I have my bachelor's degree in speech pathology and audiology. I worked at Maryland School for the Deaf while I was getting my degree there, and that's where I really fell in love with American Sign Language and the culture. So that's when I really started signing. I started signing in high school, but when I really learned the language in college. Then I went on and I got my master's in holistic spirituality and worked in campus ministry for a while. And when I moved down to North Carolina, I was looking for a job in ministry with the deaf to kind of combine my two passions. There's no paid position for that sort of thing. So I was looking through the paper and I saw a family who wanted a nanny. They wanted someone who knew sign language. I know sign language. I love babies. Then I really need a job. So I started working with them when the little girl was 6 months old. She's now driving, and it's crazy. But started signing with her when she was 6 months. By the time she was 10 months, I finally wrote down all the signs that she had, and she could understand over 100 signs and could sign back over 50. Now, some of those 50 were approximations, right? So if this is the sign for horse, she'd kind of do this. But I knew what she was saying. And, excuse me, so I still know what she was saying. So there were 50 signs that she could communicate clearly, but she could understand over 100 signs. Anyway, so her parents were so impressed with her development that they're like, you've got to teach this to other people. People need to know about this. So I started thinking about that. I looked into signing with hearing children, which until then I'd really only signed with deaf children. This girl was typically developing hearing child. They just wanted to sign with her. So anyway, so I worked with her for a while. Then that's when they suggested that, I looked into signing with hearing kids and the research behind it and thought, I could do that. So that's when I started my business, Signs of Learning. That was in 2005. So anyway, this evening, and again, I'll tell you stories about my kids as I go, and even my nieces and nephews, which they may not like. But anyway, so I've also been I did developmental therapy. I work with kids birth to 3 with various developmental delays. So I have that background as well. Okay. So what you're going to learn tonight, we're going to talk about benefits of signing, why sign with kids, why I think it's a good idea. We're going to sing a couple songs to make it fun. I'll tell you some tips and techniques about signing with little people and how to do it. We'll talk about the 6 stages of signing and what it kind of looks like as they progress through, and we'll just learn a bunch of signs themselves. We have an hour. I'm going to try and squeeze as much as I can into an hour for you. The first bit will be mostly talking about the benefits, just so that you can have a background. If somebody asks you, why are you signing with your kid? You'll have something to say. Okay, we're going to start with a song. Not the way you want to start with a child. You don't want to introduce signs to a child with a song, but since I'm guessing we're mostly adults here, I'm gonna start assuming that you know what all these words mean, and I don't have to have a prop while I teach you these signs. Okay, so the sign for more, most of you probably know that one. You tap your fingertips together. It's like a flat O. Tap them together. Together, you put your fists together like this, and you move them in a circle. That's together. So the more we get together, the happier we'll be. So your hands are flat on your chest, and they're going upwards like your spirits are being lifted. The happier we'll be. Okay? The sign for yours, the possessive yours, is a flat hand to whomever you're speaking, and mine is a flat hand towards yourself, right? So in the song, it's your friends. So friends is 2 pointers, and you just make them hug back and forth. Your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. And that's going to be a lot of this. Don't worry about it. You can just do friends if you want. That's totally fine. And then the more we get together, the happier we'll be. All right, let's sing. The more we get together, 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 the more we get together, the happier we'll be. 'Cause your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. Yay! Okay, so in case you weren't here at the beginning, just jot down in the comment section here maybe how old your kids are, just so I have a little bit of an idea of who's listening. And if they have any sort of delays, if they have speech delays or any other delays, I can speak specifically to that as well. So I have one person who's just having a bit of the child has a bit of a speech delay. I'm going to keep reading through here. We have adult daughters profoundly deaf. We're relearning sign now. Okay, great. This is going to be a basic starter thing. I'm happy to talk to you more about details if you want more than that. And new baby nieces. Hooray! Okay, so let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the benefits. One of the biggest benefits is early communication, right? Being able to communicate with a child before they can speak. And we're talking specifically about signing with babies. What I'm going to teach you tonight is basic vocabulary in American Sign Language. So American Sign Language is a full, rich language, and there's a lot to learn. I'm not going to go over all that. I'm going to go through the basics of some American Sign Language vocabulary that you can use with your children. Because it is a full language, and you could spend years learning it. So just so you know that's where we're coming from. So the biggest benefit right now is communication with young children, probably before they can speak, whether that's because of a speech delay or they're just little. So the reason that a child can sign before they can speak is that the gross motor skills of their arms and legs develop before the fine motor skills that are required for speech, right? So you can squeeze your fist like this and say milk way before you can say milk with your mouth. Okay, so that's why a child can sign before they can speak. And when they can do that, they can express their needs, their daily needs, their medical needs, any danger kind of thing. So my niece and nephew were playing in the backyard, and they were playing in the backyard. My sister was in the screened-in porch. And this is how I remember the story. I don't know if my sister would agree, but this is what I remember. And my niece ran up to my sister, they're twins, and was like, "Mommy, Mommy, neigh, neigh, neigh." My sister was like, "Are you playing horsey?" And she's like, "Neigh, neigh." This is snake. So my nephew was chasing a cottonmouth snake through the backyard, and it would have taken a little longer for her to communicate what was going on if she didn't have that sign. So that was really beneficial. So they can express even those medical needs. If their teeth hurt or their tummy hurts, they can express those kinds of things. They can express their preferences. If they wanted the monkey instead of the giraffe or whatever, being able to communicate that can make a big difference in a family's life. And when they can express their interests, it can make a really big deal, a positive effect when it can lead to a positive interaction when the child can express what they want or what they're interested in. So a little girl that I nannied for loved airplanes. So she would just, whenever she'd hear an airplane, she heard them a lot more than I did. She would sign airplane, which is this "I love you" handshake flying through the air like that. So she would sign airplane. So I knew she liked airplanes. So we went to the observation deck at the airport. We got books about airplanes, things like that. So it led to a lot more positive interactions because she could communicate what it is that she was interested in. The biggest benefit I think that people think about when they think about signing with babies is a reduction of frustration for both the adult and the child. When the child can communicate, they often get their need met or at least get it responded to. So even if I know you want a cookie, but you can't have a cookie right now, right? If a child isn't able to communicate what it is they want, the parent never acknowledges what it is that they want, and that's even more frustrating than knowing you know what I want, but not giving it to me, right? So when that child can communicate what they want, the adult responds quickly, again, maybe with a no, but at least an understanding no. And it reduces that guessing game of, are you hungry? Are you tired? Did you poop? What is it? So instead of having to guess, they can just tell you right out. And there's, according to the studies, there's fewer instances of biting and screaming in childcare facilities that use American Sign Language, or any sign language, quite frankly. And that's, again, I think basically because of communication. When a child can communicate what they want, they get responded to. They're not as frustrated. It's super frustrating to not be able to communicate to somebody. And you can use the signs that you're using to reinforce wanted behavior, to give them praise. It can also just clarify what they're trying to say if their speech, their articulation isn't quite there yet. So that helps to reduce a lot of the frustration. So another big benefit is it helps to strengthen a parent-child bond. When, again, a child can communicate what they want, they get responded to, they feel heard, they feel important, they feel loved. And I think that's true for us too, right? I know myself, if I can finally communicate something that I've been trying to communicate, and I get responded to, I feel heard, I feel important, I feel loved. And I think that's true for little people too. And they can become little leaders among their community because they can communicate. So that makes a big difference. And again, when a child can sign, especially if they have like a speech or language delay and they're a little bit older, it allows that child to successfully communicate. And that makes a huge difference as well. It's also giving them a base language, which we'll talk more about in a second. But so according to the studies, children who sign speak sooner and have larger vocabularies than children who don't sign. And I think that one of the reasons for that is a child is learning early on that something can be represented by something else. They're learning that symbolic language, right? They're learning that this water bottle can be represented by this symbol, this sign. And that's a really important part of language in general. And they're also learning the back and forth of language. There's so many pieces of language that if they didn't have sign language as a means to communicate, they'd be missing out on all these language bits, right? So the back and forth of language, as I said, that symbolic language. So to be able to give them that gift of communication can really make a big difference. And one of the reasons that I think this is true is that we all have different learning styles, right? One of the reasons I think that sign language can be so beneficial is that we all have different learning styles. Some of us are auditory learners, where we have to hear something to remember it or process it or learn it. So some people have to like record a lecture, right? And then some of us are visual learners, where we have to see it to remember it or process it or learn it. So you have charts and you have to see a video or something like that. And then some of us are kinesthetic learners, where we have to learn through our own movement, through our own touch. And sign language, at least with hearing children, touches on all those things. So auditorily, when you're speaking, because you want to be saying the word as you're signing it, because you want them to learn the spoken word as well as the signed word. So they're taking that information in through their ears. Visual learners, they're seeing the water bottle and they're seeing the sign for water, so they're making that connection visually, right? And then kinesthetic learners, once they start signing themselves, they're learning through their own movement, through their own touch. So say they're learning their fingers, they learned how to finger spell their ABCs, right? Both my daughters, or at least my youngest now more than the older one, but she also used to practice their spelling words with their hands, because it's a kinesthetic way. Like when you touch it, when you feel it, you can learn it a little bit better. Just like writing in sand or writing in shaving cream, writing your letters can help you remember those kinds of things too. So the kinesthetic learners are learning through their own movement, through their own touch. And even things like reading a book, if you're reading a book with a child and you're signing along with the story. So say it's a story about a dog who meets a cat and they go for a swim, because cats obviously love to swim. I'm not a children's story writer, obviously, but when they hear that story and they see those signs, especially the visual learners or the kinesthetic learners, if they're signing with you, they will remember the order of events better in that book because they signed it, right? And again, when they're an active participant in the book, rather than just a passive listener, it becomes more, again, positive interactions that we're all looking for. So this multi-sensory approach, right, to see the visual stuff, the auditory stuff, and the hands, your own hands stuff, it really helps a child acquire vocabulary more quickly and efficiently. So, and when that happens, so more different modes of input are stimulating the brain in different ways, right? So synapses are happening across hemispheres of the brain. And that physically builds the child's brain, but also gives that child more opportunities to process and remember and learn. Okay, so another big benefit is communication with others in general, right? So within your own family, as you're growing, it's what I'm teaching you tonight again are the American Sign Language signs. So communication with the deaf community, because this is their primary language of communication. Children and adults with special needs use American Sign Language to communicate. And that, I could go on forever about that, but I'm gonna leave that there. It's also a pretty commonly used language in the United States. So there's people like yourselves, parents who are learning. There's obviously the deaf community, people with special needs. There's people who work with special needs folks who learn sign language. So there's a lot of people out there who do know sign language. And if you're just popping in, if you want to put in the comments here how old your child is, that'll be helpful for me to know who I'm working with here. Okay, all right, thanks. Another big benefit is it's just totally fun when you can connect with your child in this way. You understand what they want. You understand them better. I actually had one dad came back to me once and said, I have 2 kids. I totally love both of my kids with all my heart. But he said, I feel so much more connected to my second son because I signed with him. With the first son, I loved him and I was there, but I didn't feel connected to him until he was 2 or so when he could talk to me. So I think that's true for not just dads, but I think it's true when you can make that connection, when you can have that communication. I know if you go to a foreign language, I feel lost. I feel it's really hard to connect to people if you don't speak a common language. So again, this is one way to get that connection early on. I have a 16-year-old here, or 2 of them, actually. That's my niece and nephew that I'm speaking of. I'll try not to tell the embarrassing stories about them this evening, if they might be watching. Okay, so you can also incorporate music to make it a lot of fun. Again, as I mentioned, introducing the signs with songs aren't as useful for the child to be able to generalize the signs. But if so for instance, it's Itsy Bitsy Spider, right? Nobody does whatever the signs are for those because they don't use them in their daily life. If you don't use them in their daily life, they're not going to remember it. So we can use songs to make sign language fun, but it's not the best way to introduce the signs. So I'll just say that from the beginning, even though I started the evening with that. At least for children, it's definitely not the best way to introduce signs, but it's true for adults too. When a child can engage in the books and become an active participant in the books, that's a whole lot of fun. You can chat discreetly across the room if you gotta tell somebody you got to go to the bathroom. This is potty, toilet. Or you can, if your kid's in their taekwondo class or their dance class or something, you can tell them to stop and sit down, pay attention, without having to call them out. Or if they're doing a little pee-pee dance, you can tell them to go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. So it's a nice discreet way to communicate as well. And also if you've got a sore throat, it's nice to be able to communicate that way. All right, we're going to do another song, just because, when you're sitting there for a long time just staring at somebody on the screen, I want you to move around a little bit. So I'm going to show you a couple signs. The sign for I is just pointing to yourself. I love, arms across your chest, mommy. So mommy is a 5 hand with your thumb on your chin. I love mommy. Yes, I do. So you want to nod your fist just like you would your head. And you want to nod your head because you want them to learn the natural gesture. So yes, I do. Mommies, again back here, are for hugging. You can make any words you want up, but you grab your shoulders like this. So love is just crossed in front and hug is an actual grab. So mommies are for hugging. I love you. You point to whoever you're singing to. Okay? And then next we'll sing about daddies. Daddy is a 5 hand with your thumb on your head. And daddies either love that or hate that. It's kind of funny. But daddy. My daughters, both of them, their approximation for the sign for daddy was like this. Daddy. That's so funny. That's mine too. Anyway, so I love mommy. We'll sing it. It's to the tune of Farrah Jacques. Everything I make up is to the tune of Farrah Jacques. Okay, ready? I love mommy. I love mommy. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Mommies are for hugging. Mommies are for hugging. I love you. I love you. And we'll sing about daddy, and we'll say daddies are for playing, right? So thumbs and pinkies, and you give them a shake. I love daddy. I love daddy. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Daddies are for playing. Daddies are for playing. I love you. I love you. And then you can sing about whoever you want. You can sing about grandma. So grandma starts out like mom, but it bounces, skips a generation. And grandpa starts out like dad, but skips a generation. Back up a little bit. So you can sing about the dog, which is a snap and a tap. You can sing about the cat. You can sing about whatever you want. And the cool thing about this song is if they're dealing with a little bit of a separation anxiety thing, when, say mom leaves and dad's back with the child, dad can sing the song and say, oh, we love mommy. It's so hard when she leaves. And then you sing, I love mommy. I love mommy, right? Do that song. And then you can say, who else do we love? And then we sing about daddy. We sing about grandma. We sing about the dog. So to get their mind off of whoever just left. It really does. It makes a big difference, I'll tell you. At least it did in our family. Okay, so who benefits from using American Sign Language? Obviously the deaf community is their main means of communication. Children and adults with language or speech or developmental delays can benefit from using sign language. People with various medical conditions, even simply a sore throat, pre-verbal, typically developing children, verbal, typically developing children. Again, children with lots of different kinds of special needs. Children with Down syndrome use sign language a lot because oftentimes their hearing's disrupted as well, so that can be beneficial. Obviously, deaf children can use American Sign Language, children with autism. And signs can be modified however they need to be modified, depending on what the child's needs are. Teachers and classrooms benefit in a major way using sign language, parents and caregivers. So there's lots of people who benefit from American Sign Language, or sign language in general. So again, what I'm going to teach you is American Sign Language. There was a program out there that modified a lot of the signs to be easier for babies to do. So for example, the sign for apple is like this. It's sort of like an A, but that first knuckle is up and you twist it into your cheek. That's apple, right? A baby's not going to be able to do that effectively. They're just kind of going to punch themselves in the cheek, right? Gently, of course. So it's a complicated movement. They're just going to do this. So baby signs decided, okay, well, we're going to take whatever the general or common approximations are and make that the sign. Okay, so baby sign said, okay, well, this is what a baby does, so we're just going to do this as the sign for apple. The trouble is that a lot of the signs that they sort of modified or made up are actually offensive in American Sign Language. And this is the tamest of them all. So this is apple in American Sign Language. This is apple in baby signs. But in American Sign Language, this is menstrual period. So a little awkward, if not. The other ones are just, wait, I'm not going to do that online. So, or even in person. So anyway, so just keep that in mind when you're looking through books and things like that. My suggestion would be that it's American Sign Language. If not, just be mindful of it if you're trying to communicate to a deaf person, because you could at least be confusing, if not offensive. Okay, so why would I use American Sign Language instead of or in addition to other types of communication? I mean, a lot of people use things like PECs. If children have special needs, they use like PECs as little pictures, or computer systems and iPads and all different. There's so many different things you can use. But the thing I like about sign language is it doesn't take any money, except maybe to learn it. But it doesn't take any money to buy it. There's no updates on technology. There's nothing to carry or drop in the toilet or drop in the tub. There's nothing to forget or lose. There's no batteries, that kind of thing. So that's why I like using American Sign Language in addition to other communication devices if those are necessary. Okay, so when should you start? Anytime. The earlier, the better. You can totally start at birth. It's good practice for you and for the child. I have a couple of different ages going on here. If you just came in and you want to put the age of your child on the side, I have like 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 5-year-olds. So I will we'll try and talk about all that as we go. But the earlier the better. But it's never too late either. Sign language should be useful later on as well. So the earlier you start, even if they're not signing back with you, it's good practice for you to continue to sign. It's good exposure to the child, of signs to the child. So when a child can hold themselves up and they're making that good eye contact, it's a great time. If they're pointing, they're communicating. Now all you have to do is give them the sign and they'll be on it. Okay. So the studies show that between 5 and 7 months, a child can understand the signs, and between 7 and 10 months can sign back. That's on average, right? I've seen 5-month-olds sign, and I've seen like 2-year-olds not sign. So it all depends on how consistently they're seeing the signs, their physical development, their intelligence, all of it, their cognitive development, all of it matters. But most especially is how consistently they're seeing the signs in their daily lives. So if you have a baby, my caution to starting at birth is it's going to be at the very least like 6 months before you see anything back, right? 5 or 6 months, something like that, at the least. And that's if you're doing it consistently, like all the time. So if you're an immediate gratification kind of person, my suggestion is you hold off a little bit and maybe start around 6 months, because then you'll see results a little bit faster. You'll see them understanding the signs a little bit first, and then you'll see them try and attempt some of the signs. We'll talk more about that later. But if they're pointing at things and trying to communicate, definitely show them some signs, because they're already communicating. They just need the vocab. Okay, some basic tips and techniques. Make eye contact as often as possible. Even when they're not looking at you, still do the signs. But if you can make the eye contact, you want to make the eye contact. And if you like hold the thing that you're showing them the sign for kind of nearby wherever you're signing it, so I'd sign water like this. I'd hold the water nearby so they can see the water and the sign, or a phone, right? If you're holding a phone, right? So they can see the phone. It's my daughter. It's my daughter's. What else? I need you to be patient, not only with the child, but also with yourself, because it's hard to remember. It's, you got a lot going on, and it's hard to remember, one, to do the signs. And then you remember to do the sign, but you forget what the heck the sign was. So just keep that in mind. Be patient with yourself. Do the best you can. We're all doing the best we can, right? Let's see if there's any more over here. Yeah. Be repetitive. So even when it feels dumb, like you're rolling a ball back and forth, and you sign ball, and they catch it, they pick it up, they chew on it, they throw it. Ball. You catch it, you hold it, sign ball, roll it back to them, ball. That repetition is going to make all the difference for learning in general, but specifically for these topics, learning sign language. And you want to be consistent. So as often as possible, every time you sit down to eat, you sign eat. Every time you go potty or they go potty, you sign potty. Every time you change your diaper, you sign change their diaper. Maybe yours if you got one, no judgments. But change, and then diaper. I'm going to see that I have my sweatpants on. Diaper, right? So you're going to change your diaper every time you change the diaper, every time you eat, every time you go to sleep. The more consistent you can be with the signs, the quicker they'll pick it up. And you want to be open to approximations, right? So again, if this is the sign for horse, they're going to kind of do this or this, and that's fine. Accept their approximation. Just continue to model it correctly. My sister's going to love this one. So when my sister was young, she had trouble saying the word truck. She would substitute the F sound for the TR sound, right? So the truck would go down the street, and she'd yell her version of truck, and my mom would be like, truck, it's truck. So she'd continue to model it correctly. And eventually, when her motor skills caught up, she was able to say truck, right? It's the same thing with sign language. They're going to do this. They're going to do it incorrectly. They might even be offensive. It's okay. They're going to do this, right? It's not a problem. Just continue to model it correctly. You don't even have to correct them. Like, you don't have to correct their hands. Just say, yeah, truck, or apple, or whatever it is that you're showing. So be open to those approximations. And continue to model the sign correctly. Then you want to use those signs in daily life. Again, like I said, as often as possible, but you want to make it an enjoyable part of your everyday life. So every time you sit down to eat, every time you go to sleep, right? Every time you play, those kind of things. You go outside. So keep that in mind. Our English sign language is the same as Spanish. No, So if you go to Mexico, if you go to Egypt, if you go to Germany, if you go to China, they all have different signed languages. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And if you are in a bilingual family and say mom speaks Spanish, dad speaks English, sign language can really be a good connector between those two languages. So if you go to Mexico or you go to wherever, it will be a different sign language if you connect with deaf people. But if you're just using it in your in your little family and you're trying to help a child make the connection between two languages, it's really beneficial. Same in like childcare facilities and things like that. If they have multiple languages going on, if they say it's time to get some milk and cookies or whatever, if they're using the same signs, the child's going to make those connections more quickly. Does that make sense? So if you go to wherever, Mexico, it's going to be a different signed language. But unless you're connecting with deaf people there, it's okay for you to use American Sign Language and still make the connection between English and Spanish. Does that make sense? Let me know if not. Okay. But that was a really good question. All right, so before we get started, we're going to get started into a bunch of signs that I want to show you, but I want to remind you of a couple things. So there are 4 things to keep in mind when I show you these signs, and you don't really have to remember it, but just keep it in mind. One thing that's important is your hand shape, right? What does my hand shape look like? So is it a 5 or is it a W? So 5 like mommy or a W like water. That hand shape will change the meaning of the sign, okay? The other thing is placement. Where on my body is it? So if it's a 5 on my chin, that's what again? You remember? That's mommy. But if it's on my head, that's daddy, right? So so that placement is on my chin or is it on my head? That placement makes a difference. Even if my hand shape's the same, the placement will change the meaning of the sign. Now that's probably obvious, but I'm pointing it out to make sure that when I'm showing you these signs, you can say, okay, that's a 5 on my chin, right? That might help you. Okay. Palm orientation matters. So if, let's say the sign for now is palms up with pinkies and thumbs with your palms facing up. That's the sign for now. It's kind of down here, but now. If you flip it over, that's the sign for stay, right? So that palm orientation changes the meaning of the sign, okay? The other thing that matters is movement. How are my hands moving? So is it play, like this, which is pinkies and thumbs, right? Play, wiggling like this, or is it today or now? Same sign, right? So that same placement, different palm orientation, different movement, right? That all changes the meaning. So just keep that in mind as we're going through. You don't have to remember all of them, but as we're going through it. Okay, so the sign for hello is just a salute. You can also just wave, totally fine. But in American Sign Language, it's kind of like a salute. Hello. And we already talked about friends. So you just take your pointer fingers. I'm going to do it on my shirt. Take your pointer fingers and make them hug back and forth. That's the sign for friends. The best way to introduce that is when a friend comes over and you say, oh, hi, friend, right? And then how are you? These are just basic general greetings. So the tops of your hands go like this. Can you see that? How? You flip them up. How is like that. So tops of your fingers go together and then you put them up to the sky. So how are you? Yeah. And you can respond by saying, I'm fine. So that's a 5 hand on your chest. I'm fine. Or good starts at your chin and comes down to your palm. Good. And thank you. So it starts at your chin and comes out. It's very similar to good. So good starts at your chin and goes down into your palm. And thank you technically kind of goes out. They end up looking the same in real life, but thank you. And then now let's play. So play is those shaky thumbs and pinkies. Play. I'm telling you these in this order because this is a song we sing at the beginning of all my classes. So I'll sing it with you. Again, it's to the tune of Fair Jacques, back and forth. It's just what I do. All right. So hello, friends. Hello, friends. How are you? How are you? I am fine, thank you. I am fine, thank you. Now let's play. Now let's play. Good job. Way to go. Okay. So we're going to talk first about some getting started signs, just starting with the basics. We've already talked about a couple of these, but But mommy is a 5 hand on your chin. Mommy. And daddy is up on your forehead. Now in American Sign Language, the face is split into masculine on the top half, feminine on the bottom half. So mom, girl is the letter A with your thumb sort of sticking out on your chin, on like your jawline. Girl, mom. Grandmom starts out like mom and bounces out, skips a generation, right? Grandma. Yeah. Girl. Sister, if you make 2 L's and kind of push your thumbs in like this, you start one at your cheek like this and come down onto the other one. Sister. Sister. A lot of the like 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds are like I'm shooting her. If that works for you, whatever. But yeah, starts up here. Sister. I would never shoot my sister because I love her. So sister. Sister. Aunt is an A and a circle by your chin. So I'm just trying to make the point here. So we got mommy, grandma, girl, aunt. I think what else we got? Sister. Right. So they all on the bottom half. They're like right around your chin. The top half is the masculine sign. So daddy, grandpa, boys like you're grabbing a baseball cap, and uncle is a U, and you move that in a circle by your forehead. So that's just to tell you that the masculine signs are on the top, feminine signs are on the bottom. There's something else. So I wear plenty of baseball caps myself, but if it helps you remember, boys wear baseball caps and girls wear bonnets. I think that's why it started that way. So girl and boy. Okay. Oops, I got some. Oh, and yeah, so then brother. Thank you. I missed brother. So brother would do the same thing, start at the top and come down like this. So sister starts at your chin and comes to your other hand. And brother starts at your forehead and comes to your other hand. Sorry, thank you. I missed that one. Let me make sure I wasn't missing any other comments or questions. I think we're good. Okay. So mommy, daddy, love. We already did that song, right? Yes is a nod with your fists and a nod with your head. Yes. And then no is 2 fingers and a thumb. I keep moving. Everything's backwards on this camera, so I apologize. Whoop. So no, it's 2 fingers and a thumb like this. No. Zip it. No. I didn't use no really at all, much at all. I used stop a lot more because that was, you can make it as emphatic as you need to. So stop. Kind of like a karate chop to your hand. Stop. And stop is a good one because it's not, one, it kind of gets their attention, and 2, you can not only tell somebody to stop doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, but you can empower someone to communicate to somebody else to stop bugging them. So like, so my little one, was okay with hugs, but could only take so much. My oldest wanted to like love on her when she was little. And the little one was like, back up. So we taught her the sign for stop. So she'd go, stop, pee, like that. So this is please is a flat hand in a circle. I'm going to put it down a bit, maybe I'll move back. Is a flat hand on your chest like this, please. And stop is like this. So an approximation that my daughter did, she'd go, stop, pee. So then my older one would back off. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we did that with my niece and nephew too, because, she'd come steal his toy, pull his hair, and he'd go, stop. That's how I remember it. So, okay, so stop is a good one. We already talked about eat or food, so it's just that sort of flat O to your mouth. And again, every time you sit down to eat, sign eat. And you can give them like a couple of Cheerios or whatever you give them, and wait a minute, let them eat them, and then wait for them to be like, give me more Cheerios. Oh, you want more food? Oh, more food, and then give them some more. So that's a good way to introduce more, and that's true for anything. So like you're blowing bubbles, and you blow a couple bubbles, and just wait a second, and it gives them the idea that they can communicate, that they can request something, and that's a really important piece of language and speech development in general, being able to know that they can request something. So so you can even take their water bottle and put it just out of reach, right? So they have to be like, oh, you want your water? And then hand them the water. That, again, will help them understand that they can request something. And it gives you the opportunity to teach them the sign for whatever it is that's just out of reach. So, again, it could be the food, it could be water, it could be toys, whatever. But the sign for more. So more is a bit of a tricky one. It's pretty abstract. So my suggestion with the sign for more is that you connect it with something concrete. So more food, more bubbles, more tickles. Tickles is just like this, but on your belly. Um, more, yeah, of course I'm blanking. But yeah, so more something concrete will help them understand the sign, the concept of more a little bit better. I had one person who came back to me and said, I wanted to start simple, so I started with more, and she's signing more, and she signs it all the time, and I don't know what she wants more of. So it was just as frustrating for her that the kid was signing more all the time, which was great and all, but she didn't know what she wanted. So if you use the concrete words, that'll help you understand a little bit sooner what it is that the child wants. So that's more. And then all done is like, technically in American Sign Language, it's like a brush, like you're brushing crumbs off your plate. All done. All done. Some children, like with autism, say, will stim. They'll get stuck there. So I've also seen people do all done like this, or just all done instead of the shake, all done. And that's totally appropriate as well. We talked about water, which is a W on your chin like this. Water. Milk, like you're milking a cow. If you have a little one and they're still drinking milk, whether it's nursing or a bottle, it's milk. My kids would actually call nursing mommy's milk, and a bottle is like this, but they wouldn't sign bottle, they'd say daddy's milk, because it was always daddy who was giving them the bottle. So you can take that or leave that, but yes, milk is milk no matter what kind it is. But as often as possible, if it's a little baby and you're holding them, and if they can hold the bottle, sometimes it's hard. And when you're nursing, you got to kind of hold things yourself. I didn't always have a free hand. But as often as you can have a free hand, show them the sign for milk while they're drinking milk, like the whole time. Like, you don't have to do it the whole time. But as often as you can, so that they make the association between the sign and drinking the milk. So that, again, when they're ready for their milk, they'll be able to communicate it, because they'll make that connection. We got milk. We already did please and thank you. Yep, thank you. Some people say to wait until they're 2, until they can really understand the concept of please and thank you. That's totally up to you. I just signed everything that I'd said, so when I said please and thank you a lot, so they picked it up. Even if they didn't fully understand the concept of like gratitude, they knew that when they got something, they said thank you. So I thought it was handy. And then we talked about stop. The other handy one that's kind of abstract but is really helpful is help. So if you have a thumbs up on your dominant hand, and give it a little boost with your non-dominant hand, which is a good point I should have said earlier. So when you're signing, it doesn't really matter which hand you're using, but generally you're probably going to naturally use your dominant hand for the moving hand, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. So the only time it's tricky is if you go from like left to right, you're signing whatever, and it's harder. It's just harder to read receptively, to take in the information. So that's why they say be as consistent as you can and just use one hand for the one-handed signs. But if you're doing things like this is dance, the dominant hand is the one doing the moving, right? Or sing is like this, up your arm. The dominant hand is doing the moving, okay? But if you have like a left-handed mom and a right-handed dad, it doesn't matter. That's not going to change the meaning of the sign. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So help is a really handy sign. If a kid is like, their toy is stuck under the couch or whatever. I know some children who get frustrated when they couldn't open things and they bang their heads or get, super, super frustrated. If you can catch them before they get that frustrated, but see that they need help, get between them and the thing and say, oh, do you need help? Let me help you. I'll help you. And then help them with the thing. And then after that happens multiple times in a row, it's going to have to happen a bunch before they get it, at least the little ones for sure. If they can see that multiple times in a row, they'll make that connection that when I get stuck, I can ask for help. Even if I don't have words, I can use my hands. So that's a really good sign. But it is a kind of abstract concept. But if you can catch them in the act of needing help, then that's a good way to introduce it. Another good sign is diaper. I'm going to stand up so you can see. So diaper is just down here by your hips. So 2 little tabby things, like little diaper tabs. That's a sign for diaper. And change, if you make 2 fists and put one on top of the other, that first knuckle technically is out. So don't stress about that though. And then you flip them over. So it starts with one hand on the top, keep them palm to palm, and just twist them over. Change. That is going to be a while before a child can do that like really accurately. They're just going to do this when they're trying to sign change. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so change. And then diaper is like this, but on your hips. Diaper. Good. Okay. So how are we doing? Is everybody feeling good? If anybody's feeling lost or feeling like it's too much, let me know in the comments. I'm going to review those signs that we just did one more time, and then we'll keep going unless anybody has specific questions. If you have specific questions, please ask them. I want this to be as appropriate as possible for whatever it is you're doing, whether you're working with kids or you have your own kids at home. So just as a review, we have mommy, daddy, love, yes, no, eat or food, more, straighten out here, more, all done. Oh, and so one thing about more and all done, make sure you're just signing more when you're giving them more, and you're just signing all done when you're all done. And in the beginning, especially when you're introducing the signs, because a lot of people totally understandably have a tendency to say, do you want more or are you all done? But if they don't know which sign means what, they're going to be like, they're not going to be able to make the connection between the sign for more and wanting more and the sign for all done and being done. Does that make sense? So when you're first introducing the signs, make sure you're just signing more when you're giving them more, and just sign all done when you're all done. And that can be not just food stuff, but everything, right? So bubbles, a diaper change, music, reading a book, whatever it is. Just sign more when you're giving them more, and just sign all done when you're all done. That way they'll make the connection between being all done and wanting more. Okay. So then all done, finished. It's like that. I say all done because done is easier to say than finished. That F sounds tricky for a lot of people. So all done. And we had water, W on your chin, and milk. It's like you're milking a cow, but not quite as excessive. And then please is a circle with a flat hand on your chest. Thank you. Yeah. Stop. Stop. Help is a thumbs up, fist, lift, boost. Yep, giving it a boost, help. In American Sign Language, just grammar-wise of American Sign Language, if I move my hands towards you, I'm offering you help. And if I move my hands toward myself, I'm requesting help. You don't have to stress about that, but that's kind of a cool thing. And then diaper. Looks like this, diaper. Yeah. Okay. All right. Please ask me questions. Let me see. Am I missing any? I don't think so. Okay. So more signs. More signing. So this is signing or signs. So point your fingers and you move them back towards yourself like this, down and then up, back towards yourself. Sign and then language. You can also just do sign. That's fine. Okay. So happy. Happy. I feel happy. And you want your face to match your sign, right? So you don't want to be like, happy. You have like, I'm happy, right? And then sad is like, sad. Grumpy. Grumpy is like a claw at your face. Grumpy. My daughter she was probably 10 months old, and my husband came down and he was rumble. He was just in a cranky mood, and she just looked at me. When he was turning the other way, she looked at me and she went, I was like, anyway, pretty funny. Okay, so then music or sing or song, it can all be the same sign. If you want something different between music and sing, you can do sing like this and music like this. In the deaf community, they mostly just do that for both, but you can also do sing like that. We talked about dancing. No, sorry. We talked about jumping and dancing. I was looking at the word dance and I was doing it. So jump, it's like you're standing on the ground and you're jumping up and down. And then dance is like you're swinging back and forth. Dance. Gotta get in the middle there. There you go. Babies love phones. That's just phone. Keys, if you take that first knuckle and twist it into your other palm, that's keys. Babies love to eat keys. The sign for where is a really good sign. So it's like, where's the ball? Or where are my shoes? Well, where's mommy? Where's a really good sign? Because one of the best ways to introduce signs is you take the thing that you want them to learn the sign for. Let's say a water bottle, because that shows right here. And you put it under a blanket. I don't have a blanket. But you put it under a blanket. And you say, where's the water? Or whatever it is that's under there. Where's the water? and then you reveal the water, and then, oh, it's the water. So the baby generally, or the child, will look at the water and look back at you like, it's right there. And that's the perfect time to introduce the sign for water. Okay, so water. You can stick anything under a blanket. I had a friend who said, I'm going to take everything and put it under a blanket. And she did, and that's how she had learned everything. She's like, I took the blankets at mealtime. We learned all the different meal signs. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do the similar idea is like have daddy hide behind the couch, right? So daddy's hiding behind the couch, and mommy's sitting with the baby, and mommy says, where's daddy? Where's daddy? And the daddy pops out, and the baby and mommy both look at daddy and then look back at each other again. That's the perfect time to introduce the sign for daddy. So baby and mommy are playing, daddy pops up, you both look at daddy, and you're like, oh, and look back at each other again, it's daddy. That's the perfect time to introduce the sign for whatever just happened, whatever popped up that drew your attention together and then back together again. Sure, so dog is like this. I don't know if you said dog, but dog, we're going to snap and tap. So it's a snap and a double tap on your leg. They're not going to be able to snap, but they'll be able to tap. And cat is like this, like whiskers. Cat. Okay. Some people do it with two, but you really only need one hand to do it. Okay. So again, where is just a really great sign for that. Where's the ball? Where's the shoes? Where's mommy? Whatever. So make sure that you hide, if your mommy's out there, make sure the mommies hide behind the couch too, because my daughter never signed to mommy because I never talked about myself. So it took them a long time to learn the sign for mommy. Not a long time, but it took them longer. They learned daddy quicker because I talked about daddy all the time, but I didn't talk about myself. So make sure you hide behind the couch and daddy signs as well, or whoever you're with, partner. Okay, so where is a good sign. It looks like, but it's not. It's where could it be? It's like imagine a magnifying glass, like where could it be? Where could it be? And then ball, we talked about that one a couple times. Duck. So all four fingers and a thumb. Duck, like that. A lot of kids, well, let me tell you this one. So bird is just a pointer finger and a thumb, right? Like this. Bird, again at your mouth, and duck is all of your fingers. I've also seen duck with two fingers. That's totally fine. But because they're both correct, I choose the one with the four fingers because it's more different than bird, right? Almost, not every child, many children will sign bird like this, backwards first, or duck. And they'll do it like this. And that's because that's how they see it, right? If they're looking at somebody signing it, they see this part of their fingers. So that's why babies wave backwards, right? Because that's how they see it. So they wave like that. So the way to do that is have them on your body, like have them on your lap facing outward, and then sign bird on their body or duck on their body. So like if you're reading a book, that's a perfect way to do it. That way they'll see the hand in front of their face like that, and they'll, oh, it goes that way. It'll take them a while to get it, but there you go. So duck and bird. Yep. Airplane is that I love you hand shape. So it's a pinky, the pointer finger, and the thumb, and it flies through the sky. They're not going to be able to do this part, right? They're going to do that, and that's totally fine. They're also not going to be able to say I love you like this, but it is the cutest thing in the world when a baby goes, la-loo, and they just have the one finger up, and they go, la-loo. Super cute, in my opinion. Okay, so airplane, flying through the sky. And then I just put this one in here for fun to learn. So you're learning sign language, right? You're learning to sign. So learn, it's like this is a book and you're taking the information from the book and putting it in your head, right? So that's to learn, and then sign. So if you run into a deaf person and you know a couple signs and you want to use them, just say you're learning sign, and then let them know what you know. Book. Also, books are really important in our house. So the sign for book is like that. It's just like you open up the pages of a book. Yeah. Okay. How are we doing on time? We have a couple more minutes. So I talked about the different gazes sort of within what I was doing. Like one of them is an expressive gaze. Something happens, they want their water, they want more bubbles, whatever, and they're giving you that expressive look like, come on. Oh, you want more bubbles, or you want more food. That's an expressive gaze. Oh, yeah, book. Can you show book? Did you say that before I did it? I read your mind without even reading it. Okay, so that's an expressive gaze. They're trying to express something, you just are giving them the word for it, right? And then a chance mutual gaze is you're sitting there playing and you happen to pick up a book and you show them the sign for book, right? A pointed gaze is that daddy hides behind the couch thing, and you both look at each other and then, both look at daddy and look back at each other again. Perfect time to introduce the sign for whatever just popped up. You don't have to remember what they're called, but just remember those 3 are the best ways to introduce the signs. When they do start signing, there's like these 6 stages of signing. So at first they'll be like, oh, mommy's using their hands a lot more, so they'll find it amusing. And then it'll be like, hey, wait a minute, when she does this, I get milk. But they won't be able to do anything, but they'll kind of recognize it. And the next it'll be like, oh, I can use my hands. So they'll just use their hands a lot. And they might be trying to sign something, but who knows? They're just wiggling their hands around a lot more. So they're trying it. They're practicing it. They're maybe doing it right, but probably not. Like, they might get the sign for more, but use it for everything. So, like, they're signing more, but they're on a changing table. They don't want more. They want to get down. So you can show them the sign that they want, or you can just say, I know, you want to be done, right? You want to be done. And then when they're done, say, oh, bad, and make a big deal of it. And again, that first sign, when they first start signing, it might be sporadic. Like, it might be they get it one week and then the next week they don't do it at all. And you're like, are you what? I thought you had that one. But keep an eye out for those approximations. So I had one family who said, I'm trying to figure out, he's signing something, but I don't know what it is. And he's just doing this the whole time. He's just doing this. And I'm like, I don't know. When is it happening? So think about if they're doing one thing like consistently, try and think about what's happening around that time, and that might help you analyze what it is. But so I went over and we were doing our thing, and I started singing a song, and he went like this. And I was like, are you signing sing? Do you want to sing a song? So sing is like this, like you're directing the chorus in your arm. So anyway, so that was it. So he was like, yeah, sing. So keep looking for those approximations because they're coming. And then they're going to be like, okay, I get it. This is milk. And when I do this, I get milk. And then we'll start making those connections. And then it'll be like the signing eureka. They're like, oh, I totally get it. I get this whole thing. Like, I understand. I can communicate. I can get what I want, essentially, get responded to. And they can initiate conversations, which is totally cool. And the times when they sign to you and you get it, and they are so proud. Like, the little look on their face, they're just so proud. It's great. If you go to my website, signsoflearning.com, at the bottom of the home page, the front page, is a couple of videos, and one of them is of my daughter one of each of my daughters when they first signed milk, but when they were signing milk in the beginning. And one of them, she's just sort of leaning back on the couch, and she kind of did this, and I was kind of pretending that I didn't know what she wanted because I wanted her to really like show me. And so she's doing this, she's doing this, and I'm like, what do you want? What do you want? And she reached out a little bit more and went, did it work? I was like, you want milk? And she was like, yeah. And she like leaned back. She was like, that's it. So look at it's pretty cute. There's a couple cute little videos on there. Anyway, so couple just reviews, right? Let's go over some of those things. As often as you can, make eye contact, and at least hold the thing up with the sign. So things like dog is handy. So if you snap and tap, right? The dog often comes if you have a dog, which is handy. But if you have, I really should have brought my props. But if you have like a, whatever, we'll use this one, a bottle of water and you're signing water, or, you're holding a pig and you're showing them the sign for pig, or you're holding a horse and you're showing them the sign for horse. Make sure that you and the child are talking about the same thing when you're introducing the sign. So like if you go to a farm, you're looking at this beautiful sunset. You want them to learn the sign for sunset. They're not looking at the sunset. They're looking at the cow right in front of them, right? So just make sure that when you're showing them the signs, you're talking about the same thing, okay? You want to make sure you're saying the word as you sign it because you want them to learn the spoken word as well as the signed word, okay? Again, make the sign or hold the thing kind of close to your face or wherever the sign is so that they can make those connections. Be patient with yourself and with them. Be repetitive. That's how they're going to learn. That's how you're going to learn. Same deal. Even when they're not paying attention, still sign because it'll help you do it consistently, because consistency is the other thing that's really important. As often as you can, every time you eat, every time you sleep. So sleep is like this. It's like shutting down. So sleep. And if you do it on their face, they kind of close their eyes, and that helps. But sleep, eat, play, right? Keep those in mind. Every time you do those things, do that. Change a diaper. You're going to be probably doing that a lot. And be open to those approximations because they're going to do this for a horse, even though it's this. and continue to model that sign correctly. So even when they do their sign version of truck, you can make sure that you're showing them the correct signs. You're modeling it correctly. Again, you don't have to like correct their hands, but you can model it correctly. And you want it to be an enjoyable, fun part of their everyday natural life, right? And the more enjoyable it is, the more they'll want to do it. The more you force it on them, the harder it's going to be because they're not going to be as interested. Okay. Okay. So let me just go over real quick some of the. Let me find my thingy. We'll just go over those signs one more time. So we have hello, and friend, and how are you? I'm fine. Thank you. Play. We talked about mommy and daddy, and yes, and no, and love, and eat or food, same sign, eat or food, and more. And again, connect that with a concrete word as often as possible. All done. Do that when you're all done, whether it's the bath, which is like this, which is the bath, or eating, or you're done with the diaper change, whatever it is. Water, like that. Milk. Please. Thank you. Stop. Help. Diaper. Happy. Grumpy. Sad. This is cry. It's like if other babies are crying or kids are crying, I say cry. Dance. Jump. Music. Phone. Keys. Wear. Ball. Airplane. Duck. Learn. Sign. Like there's something else that I thought of in the middle of it. But those are the basics to get started with. If you have any questions, you can put them in here. I'm happy to stay for a couple extra minutes. If you have questions, just put them in the little side comment thing. I'm happy to answer them. You can find out more about signing with babies at signsoflearning.com. It's still sort of in progress. My website, I just changed it over from a different one, and I think it's better. But I have like an email that I send out every other month or so with different things. Usually it's about classes in my area, so if you're not here, that might not be as useful. But you can follow me on Facebook as well, Signs of Learning. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. The sign for juice is a J by your cheek, so juice. Juice. Or just drink in general is a C. A C like this, like with your thumb and your chin, and like you're chugging. Drink. That's just drink in general. It can be whatever you're drinking. Yep. Good. Any other questions? Any other questions about specific issues? Like if a child you have has certain needs, or if they have favorite things. If they have favorite things, definitely ask me the sign for that, because that's what's going to be most motivating for them. But we're all done. I'll stick around for another minute or two and see if any other questions come through. But please feel free to give me a call if you have any questions. Again, signsoflearning.com. You can look on there for a bunch more information about the benefits of signing, the research behind it, things like that. They should all be on there. Oh, let me put that in here. In the comments, I am going to put, let's see if it'll still work. Oops, I almost ended it. I didn't mean to end it. I put there's a link for handouts. It's signsoflearning.com, and if you go over to members only and then just click on partners in learning parents, and then when you do that, you can put in the password parent handouts 20, and then you'll get in. But that's just for the members only part of the site where the handouts are, and they'll be there until the end of the month, so you can check them out there. How about cleanup? So cleanup. So clean is once wipe the slate clean. Cleanup is like clean, clean, clean. You kind of move it to the side. Clean, clean, clean. Clean up. Good. Bring on the questions. Thank you for the compliment. That's my mom. Any other questions, anyone? Okay. Well, again, feel free to either post the questions here. You can email me on my website. You can call me. when you get the number on the website. It's 919-469-5244. But I don't know if y'all can remember that. So just look me up. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Again, the handouts I just posted toward the end there. If you go to scienceoflearning.com and go over to members only, partners in learning parents, and the password is parent handouts 20. So I would copy and paste it because it's the capitals matter and all that sort of thing. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.